From which location was flight MH17 shot down? And how was the weapon brought there and removed again? The investigation team was able to answer those questions. In this respect, a large quantity of evidence has been gathered. We have analyzed the location of the telephone towers which received signals from the telephones of the officers escorting the buck convoy. Telephone traffic between those officers and their commanders was recorded. On several occasions during those intercepted conversations, they speak about where they are and the route to be followed. There are numerous witnesses who saw the buck Tila pass by. Especially after last year's call to the public, many persons reported that they were willing to testify. The buck Tila was photographed and filmed several times while being transported along that route. The photographs and video clips that the team found on social media were checked for authenticity. All telecom data and intercepted telephone calls that have been examined by the investigation team demonstrate that the buck Tila was brought into the Ukraine from the Russian Federation. Subsequently, the weapon was transported in a convoy with separatists from eastern Ukraine to the final launch site. How did they proceed? Around 8 o'clock in the morning, a witness saw the convoy with the buck Tila in Yanakiva. In the previous hours, the convoy had travelled along a certain route from the Russian border, as appears from telecom information, including the following intercepted telephone conversation.
Алло.
Алло. Ты где
Алло,
вообще
Николай.
сейчас? Ты две
Я
одну
сейчас...
или две привез, скажи мне?
Нет, одну, потому что там у них пошла непонятка, они наш трал не перекинули сюда.
Я понял.
Грузили и своим ходом пригнали.
Смотри, ты ее не она своим ходом пришла или на трале?
О, перешла через полоску.
А сейчас ты привез ее на трале, да?
Да.
Значит, смотри, ты ее никуда не Сейчас я скажу, куда ей выдвигаться, она вместе с танками Востока пойдет, ясно, да? Алло.
Ага. Алло,
Сейчас.
понял.
Будь на связи.
Хорошо, все, ага.
The buck Tila crossed the line, in other words passed the border, and was transported on a trailer, a white Volvo truck with a red low loader. On several photographs and videos that we found on social media and otherwise, the Volvo can be seen bearing the buck Tila with anti-aircraft missiles under a camouflage net. Witnesses that we have spoken to also testified that they had seen this vehicle with 4 missiles. The truck was escorted by a Volkswagen transporter and a UAZ Jeep. The escorting officers were several armed men wearing uniforms. In Donetsk, the convoy stopped for some time at 2 locations. First at a crossing, and later on, after the convoy had turned around, it stood still on a strip at the side of the Makivka highway. In Donetsk, the convoy was seen by many witnesses, and also frequent reports about this convoy appeared in social media. Paris Match published a photograph of the convoy in Donetsk in its magazine. This photograph was a so-called still from a video. In the meantime, the investigation team has obtained the original video footage of the transport in Donetsk. Starting at 1100 hours, the convoy continued on Main Road 21 into the direction of Makivka, Zurez, Torres, and ultimately to Shnichna. Several moving images have been made that show the truck with the buck Tila. These videos, which are in the hands of the investigation team, were made in Makivka and in Zurez. In Torres, the convoy was also seen multiple times, of which the investigation team has managed to obtain new images clearly showing the buck Tila and the escorting vehicles. For safety reasons relating to the person who actually made these images, the background has been cut out. Around midday, the white Volvo low-loader with the buck Tila arrived in Shnichna. In Shnichna, the buck Tila was loaded off the truck near the Furshet supermarket. From there on, the buck Tila drove further on its own. In Shnichna, it passed by an apartment building. Then, the last moving images of the buck Tila that are available show the system while driving towards its final destination. This final destination is farmland near Pervomaisky. This is 21 kilometers southeast of the spot where flight MH17 crashed, around 4:20 in the afternoon. The investigation team has collected a large amount of evidence for the determination of the precise launch site of the Buk missile. This evidence shows without any doubt that this farmland near Pervomaisky can be pointed out as the launch site. What does the evidence consist of? The investigation team has recorded statements of many witnesses. Some witnesses were very close to the launch site when the missile was launched. These witnesses spoke about a very loud noise, a violent explosion, and a high whistling sound. Other witnesses have testified that they had seen a plume of smoke, that they had seen the Baktila at the launch site in Pervomaisky, and immediately afterwards saw the missile that had been launched. In addition, some witnesses testified that they had seen an airplane crashing. Several witnesses had seen the inversion trail of the missile. The witnesses described the trail as white, very thick, and very long. This photograph of the inversion trail was made in Torres and was distributed through social media. The photo was examined by the Netherlands Forensic Institute. The NFI does not have any indications that this photo was manipulated. The Dutch Meteorological Institute also examined the photo, and they note that this was not a cloud or an airplane's contrail. In addition, in the spring of 2016, after long research on social media, the investigation team found 2 new photos. Since it is difficult to see the inversion trail on the photographs, we show you the photos with a filter. An analysis of visibility lines was made of the first photo and the statements of witnesses. The direction in which the witness was looking when he or she saw or photographed the trail. The spot where these visibility lines come together is located very close to the aforementioned farmland near Pervomaisky. There are also intercepted telephone conversations which refer to the launch location, among which the following conversation.
Далее.
Да, Лень, ты слышишь, это самое. Это получается за Снежным блокпост последний перед Степановкой. Налево. Правильно я сориентировался?
Вот ты в Степановке должен уйти направо, через поле идти на Снежное, да, блядь, ебаное.
Ну да.
Вот иди на Снежное. Там я тебя дальше сориентирую.
The telephone of one of the participants to this conversation connects with the telephone tower which is located closest to the launch site. In addition, the description of the surroundings in this conversation, the field and the forest, corresponds with the surroundings of the launch site in Pervomaisky. Several journalists went to the launch site near Pervomaisky. Some of them were shown a piece of land which had been burned. They saw some scorched land, measuring about 30 by 30 meters. Other journalists spoke to inhabitants of the area, who told them that the field had been on fire on the 17th of July 2014, and that they had ploughed the field in order to prevent the whole field from catching fire. It was clearly visible that the field had been ploughed. The investigation team, who, as you may recall, did not have access to this area after the crash, has also interviewed witnesses about this location. The satellite images which were made of this location on the 16th of July and the 21st of July were also examined. Because of the cloudy weather, images from the days in between could not be used. The images before and after the crash show significant differences. The photo of the 21st of July shows the charred and ploughed piece of land that could not yet be seen on the photo of the 16th of July. The 21st of July photo also shows tracks of Caterpillar vehicles. Immediately after the launch, the Baktila was removed. There are hardly any images of the route along which the system was removed, since this took place late in the evening and during the night. However, we have been able to partially establish the route through analysis of telecommunication data and on the basis of the statement of a separatist who was involved in the removal of the Baktila. It is believed that the Baktila drove into the direction of Schnitzna autonomously. There it was reloaded onto the white Volvo low-loader in the late evening hours of the 17th of July. From there, the low-loader went to Krasny Luch, and then via Debaltseve to Luhansk. In Luhansk, in the early morning, a video was made of the Volvo truck with the low loader carrying the Buktila. One can see that at this point in time, there are only 3 missiles on the installation. From there, the transport moved on to the Russian border and then crossed that border. The JIT has intercepted telephone conversations which took place in the morning of the 18th of July 2014. These conversations demonstrate that at that moment, the buck was already back in the Russian Federation.
Они довели до перекрестка машину, оставили. Пацаны пошли дальше сами.
Так.
Все, машина ушла туда, куда надо. И дошла нормально все.
Я
Там просто начались непонятные звонки от 10 человек.
От каких 10?
Ну, на его номер начали звонить разные люди, представляться, что то один, то второй, то третий, то четвертый, то он говорит, я уже заеб... говорит, потом, говорит, сам Стрелков начал звонить, представился.
И он взял, выключил телефон, блядь, и пиздец, блядь. И мы не знаем, где машина вообще.
Машина в России.
Блядь, вчера, говорю, блядь, мы не знаем ночью, блядь. Я вернулся только, блядь, там все нормально было. Ему позвонило 8 человек разных, блядь. Он передал машину, ему разные, блядь, звонят, блядь, 8 человек, блядь. Он поэтому телефон и выключил, блядь. Никуда назад он ее не вел, нихуя.
Так, а доложить о том, что произошло, вы могли мне?
А
где
что докладывать,
где
блядь?
Где сейчас машина?
Машина уже давно в России находится. Он ее сразу передал, блядь, машину тем, кто встречал,
Кому?
блядь.
Кому?